Good evening, faculty, students, and judges. 5.3 trillion songs were streamed in 2022 alone, and yet one stream is equal about 0.004 cents. So why is there such a disconnect between songs streamed and the revenue made from them? And it asks the question, does streaming really bode well for the future of the music industry? To answer this question, it's important to look at the new and upcoming artists. Is it easier for them to make a career, something that they have a talent for, out of this new service of streaming? But it's also important to look at the big businesses, the record labels, and the artists that work with them. How has their relationship changed because of streaming? Finally, we need to look at you and me, the consumers. Is it cheaper for us to use streaming? And does it allow us to have more access to music? So we all know the famous phrase, money talks. Well, let's see what it's saying. So if we want to answer this question, it's important to look at the new artist, the person who wants to create a career out of this. Luminate, who is entertainment's preeminent data and insights company, found a statistic that 72.2% of songs that were streamed last year were not only off the Billboard Top 100s, but were also 18 months or older. So it seems that listeners, because of streaming, have become stagnated in what they listen to. And it's hard for these new artists to find a way to be in these listeners' ears. To back this up, Chartmetrics, which is a company that quotes themselves as the all-in-one platform for professionals to create successful careers in music. Their 23rd most growing artist of last year, Jim Efforts, a new age artist, dropped from the top 45,000 artists to below 145,000 in just one day. So clearly streaming has created a new fast-paced way of listening to music. So these new artists are struggling to stay in the mainstream. But we can also look at someone like Justin Bieber, a globally renowned artist and mainstay in pop culture. He credits his fame as his viral uploads to the music video site YouTube. He had music videos that he uploaded independently of a record label, something that has rarely been ever done before. Speaking of a record label, now we can look at the record labels and the artists that work with them. So as I previously mentioned, one stream is about 0.004 cents, or 250 streams is about $1. But Adam Rubnick, who is the founder and CEO of Oxmode, which helps entertainment companies safeguard their content, found us that Spotify does not actually pay per stream in something called stream shares, which is quoted as it varies from artist to artist and their agreements with their licensors. So what this means is that record labels are now able to choose how much money these artists are making through their streams. John Anderson, a founder of Two Story Melody, a site about all stories in the entertainment industry, found that the main way that artists are making their money today is through live performances, with streaming royalties coming in second. However, their main source of income is streaming at 75%. So what's happening is their huge amount of income at almost 3/4 of the amount that they're making is not really relegating into revenue. In fact, live performances are actually more than 10%, making them more money than streaming royalties are. But we can also look at the listeners. And is streaming cost effective for us? Well, Oscar Henway, who's a student at Harvard and a member of the Employment and Labor Lab, found that on average, a streaming site only costs about $10 per month and is much more cost effective when you compare it to buying an actual album. And in fact, most streaming services even have an ad-free listening device. So now we can listen to this music and have it be cheaper than it ever has been, and we have more access to loads and loads of more music. So it's no surprise that streaming has really taken over the state of listening and has shown us what it can do to change the industry. But is that really for the better? Does streaming bode well for the music industry? Looking at the recording studio and the artists, how do they work together to make money? The up and coming, the people that want to make a career out of this, is it easier for them to earn revenue? And is it cheaper and more accessible for the consumer? Well, streaming is cheaper for the consumer, and it allows us to have more access to streaming and the songs that are within them. And companies decide to make revenue for artists and themselves. But new artists such as Jim Efforts are struggling to make a name for themselves in this area. And it doesn't seem as it's much of fruitful income, as live performances are still the #1 way that artists are making money today, with streaming royalties being second. So at this rate, streaming is here to stay. It's not really going anywhere. But how well it can really accept these new artists and change the music industry for the better depends on where we decide to take our hard-earned cash. Thank you.